Before we get started with today's video, I want to talk to you guys about the OneFootball app, because in recent weeks and months they've been adding loads of new features for residents in the UK and in Ireland. For example, you can now get match highlights for La Liga, Liga Portugal and DFB Pokal. On top of that, you also now get full Serie A coverage, which again is the things like the highlights, player statistics and league tables, but also a live match which you can watch live on the app for free every single week. This week it will be Bologna at home to Sassuolo, and now if you use the stream reminder notification, you can make sure that you don't miss the game, which I really do highly recommend. If you aren't a resident in the UK or in Ireland, fear not, there is still so much to offer on the app, and if you check out the Discover tab, you will see that there is something for everyone on the OneFootball app. If you are interested, make sure to use the link in the description down below and download the OneFootball app today. Hey guys, welcome back to the AJ Analysis channel, where we are finally back after a couple of days break. It was my birthday, so I just took a couple of days away from uploading, but now we are back because I want to preview Manchester United's game against Aston Villa in the Carabao Cup tonight, because United didn't do very well against Villa at all at the weekend, so I think this is a really good way to see how Ten Hag adapts his tactics and kind of reacts to that. And it's kind of a good way to gauge him as a manager at this early stage in his Manchester United career. Can he take the lessons from the game at the weekend and what went wrong? Can he adapt with a limited squad at the moment and produce a better performance? Because if he can do that, I think that would be a really good sign. Now, do I think this will be an easy game? Absolutely not. But I think there's a lot that Ten Hag can change, just subtle tweaks which could help United. Now, apologies if you can hear background noise, that is next door, there's work going on. There's not really much I can do unless I go fight them. I mean, let me know if you want me to fight them in the comments down below. But yeah, there's three main talking points for today's video, because there are three main things that went wrong for Manchester United at the weekend, for me. One was Manchester United's ability to get out of the press. One was Manchester United's ability to press themselves high up the pitch without getting exposed on the counter-attack. And then the other thing was the issue of who do you play on the right wing. And then kind of the fourth problem, but it kind of is captured in all of those, is just the lack of intensity. So the first thing that Manchester United have to address is the lack of intensity. That's not a tactical thing. Ten Hag needs to get his side on it from minute 1 to minute 90. Both halves every single second. United need to be on it. Having Bruno Fernandes back in the team will definitely help that. I don't think Donny van de Beek done a ton wrong at the weekend, but Bruno Fernandes is the leader in this team. He sets a standard and himself individually just works incredibly hard, plays with a real intensity, gets up and down the pitch, doesn't really let any free balls go in the midfield, and that will help United. But of course, tactically there are things as well. That intensity is something that Ten Hag and the players need to sort, but there are tactical things. Now, in terms of the lineups I've got on screen here, I've kind of got a couple of changes for both teams, with it being a Carabao Cup game. I'm thinking we might see Dubravka for his first game, because if he doesn't play in the Carabao Cup, why did United sign him? I've got Fred coming in for Eriksen as a case of rotation, and Malacia in at left back. And you'll notice no one on the right wing at the moment. We will come on to that. But let's look at how United can get better at playing their way out from the back. Because at the weekend, one of the issues they faced was the fact that Aston Villa had a front two directly on the Manchester United centre-backs, and that caused problems. But I think there are tweaks that United can use to address that. Now, for United to address this, I don't think it's a massive change in system that is needed. I think you just need to change the position of a couple of players, because I think it will make it much more difficult for Villa to press them. And honestly, the simple thing I would do is persist with playing the ball out from the back, and drop Dalot in at times alongside the centre-backs, only in this first possession phase, move Malacia up in line with the midfield, and then rather than pushing this midfielder forward straight away, keep them slightly deeper. Now, like I said, we've gone with Fred just for a bit of extra energy, extra intensity, but also to give Christian Eriksen a rest. I think just this simple change would drastically help United in the press in this game. Getting out of the press, I should say, because I think it would be very difficult for Villa to press them. And let me explain why. One, you've got Ronaldo occupying the two centre-backs. We know that's always the case. If United push their wingers high and wide, it's going to force Cash and Digne, or whoever the fullbacks may be, deeper, so they can't come and press as high. Now we kind of see that Bruno Fernandes is occupying this space, where Bouba Kamara will likely pick him up, which gives Villa one extra free midfielder to go in here. But what we can see is that United just have the superior numbers here. Because now we have 5 Aston Villa players pressing. Let's say Bruno Fernandes can pin Kamara, Ronaldo pins the centre-backs, the wingers pin the full-backs. Aston Villa have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players against Manchester United's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Helped by the fact that Dubravka is pretty good on the ball. I think this would be a much better shape for United to try and use just to get through this first phase. I think that is what they need to do. Progress the ball using this shape, get through that first phase of the press, and then try and take control of the game. Something that they really didn't do during the first 20 minutes at the weekend. But if they can do that, United have a base to then build from. If United are finding it easy to get through the press, Unai Emery will react for Aston Villa because we know that he likes to be a compact and kind of safety first manager a little bit at times. He wants his team to defend well, so if they are being played through the press too easily, he will drop his team off and it will come into a flat 4-4-2. How do Manchester United break that down? Well, again, I think there is a slight tinker in system needed, because again, we have the issue of two centre-backs in Lisandro Martinez and Victor Lindelof playing up against Leon Bailey and Ollie Watkins, and always, two strikers always makes it difficult to play through, simply because if it's one striker, let's just take Watkins out of the situation, you can kind of pass it side to side or create a triangle with Casemiro and it's just much easier to get around them. When there's two versus two, it's obviously a difficult situation. So I think United need to adapt to that, and if it was me, I would be pulling someone in and forming a back three. The question is, who do you pull in? Now, one option is to drop Casemiro into this area and use Fred here. A 3-1, and I do quite like the idea of that because I think it makes it really easy to outnumber the two Aston Villa forwards. But the question is Fred good enough to kind of sit in the base of the United midfield and dictate from there? I'm not sure he's got the skill set. So the other thing I would really consider is moving Lindelof more central and having Dalot play a little bit deeper, because we know Casemiro has the quality in this area on the ball but also off the ball to hold the midfield together. I think this would be more the shape that I was going for. More of this 3-1-6 system like this, with the left back, whether it's Malacia or Shaw, pushing high, Rashford coming inside, Bruno Fernandes and Fred reasonably high, Fred a bit more box to box, and then the winger on the right hand side holding the width. Now, what this also does, by changing this shape, is it helps United deal with one of the other issues they faced. So one issue was that they couldn't kind of break Villa down. So initially this change is going to help. It's going to help United play through this front two. But more importantly, I think it's going to help United defend the counter-attack. Because at the weekend there were far too many times when United would lose the ball, and what we saw constantly was this 2 versus 2. And the ball going into this channel here with Ollie Watkins making this run up against Lindelof, and then Bailey nipping in front of Lisandro Martinez. We saw it time and time again. Having this extra defender back here is going to massively help that. Because now, even if Watkins does pull into this channel, you have the extra man covering. So this empty space that Leon Bailey was attacking at the weekend is now filled by Victor Lindelof. So I think that would be a really good way for Manchester United to nullify Aston Villa's counter-attack. So that's now two of the issues that we've addressed already. Building through the first phase, but also nullifying Aston Villa's threat. But there is more on that, I'll come back to it in a bit. Just focusing for now on the in-possession stuff, if Dalot is going to play slightly deeper and narrower at right back, almost forming a back three, then it is going to put pressure on the right winger to perform. Now, at the weekend, it was Marcus Rashford on this side of the pitch, and it just didn't really work. I completely understand why Ten Hag done it, because he was very limited for choices, but I just don't think it's going to work. United need a player that can hold the width, and the question is who can do that. I think United have a few different potential solutions. Realistically, none of them are ideal, because it looks like Jadon Sancho is out again, it looks like Antony is out, so United don't have a right winger. So what I'm going to quickly do is go through a couple of different scenarios, and I want you to let me know in the comments down below which one you would choose. Okay? So the first option, let's get this guy out of here, is to play Bruno Fernandes on the right wing. This is one option, and have Donny van de Beek as the attacking midfielder, and hope that Bruno Fernandes from this area can work good balls into the box. That is an option. But I think what I like more as an option is Anthony Elanga on the right wing. Now, I know people are going to kind of raise an eyebrow at that because he's not great. And isn't ideal, don't get me wrong actually, this is not an ideal situation. This is not, Manchester United will be chuffed to play Elanga on the right wing. That isn't the case. This is United kind of having to make do a little bit in a tough patch for the squad. But I think having this natural energy and ability on the right wing of a winger is better than having Bruno Fernandes for this game. I also think, again, if we talk about the defensive side, we know that Elanga is very hard working. At times, Rashford was a bit lazy on the right wing at times at the weekend, allowing Digne, allowing Buendia to get forward at Dalot. I think Elanga is less likely to do that. Elanga is more likely to do the defensive work. In terms of on the ball, Elanga's job is kind of to hold the width. I can't imagine this being a game where United are going to focus down the right wing, simply because they won't be as strong in that position. And when we come to doing a tactical analysis of the match tomorrow, I might say at times United didn't go down the right wing enough. But actually, as we're looking at it, United may not have a choice, because they don't really have the wingers. The other option is to bring Christian Eriksen back into the team, and maybe put him on the right wing, he has played there before, or maybe put him as the attacking midfielder, again Bruno Fernandes on the right wing. But Considering it's the Carabao Cup, not the most important competition in the world, I think I would give Eriksen a break, get Elanga on the right wing, and yeah, go from there. But this isn't the main issue I want to address, how United are going to create chances. I want to talk about how United can try and stop Aston Villa's threat. So to do this, I want to start by talking about what went wrong at the weekend, and you just have to ignore the personnel on screen, just think about the positions. So one of the issues that Manchester United had is they wanted to press, but they didn't do it very well. Particularly during that first 20 minutes of the match, Aston Villa played through them very easily. A few reasons. One, Ronaldo, the intensity just isn't there. And that is a problem that United will face in this game as well if they do choose to press. The other issue was that we had Donny van de Beek in this position here. But with Aston Villa playing a double pivot, it meant that he could be outnumbered. Because you had, who was it in that game? Dendoncker and Luiz either side of him. So it made it quite difficult for him to press, both of them. What we saw as a result was that he kind of shifted to one side and Casemiro came higher in the press. He stepped up onto Douglas Luiz, and then it was Eriksen playing this kind of role as the deepest midfielder, which just initially doesn't really make sense, having Casemiro pressing higher, Eriksen coming in. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But regardless, we carry on because United had more issues. The issue from here was then these two wide kind of inside forward wingers, playmakers, whatever you want to call them, for Aston Villa, coming inside and dragging the fullbacks. So Ramsey would come in on this side and drag Luke Shaw. Buendia in particular would really do it on this side, dragging Dalot in. What this then does is creates this area here where Lindelof can be exposed. Watkins can get 1v1 with Lindelof and Bailey can do the same against Lisandro Martinez. It was very clever from Emery, it got at United, it exposed them. How can United address it? That's the question, because realistically Aston Villa are going to set up in their 4-2-2 again, and realistically Manchester United will set up in a 4-2-3-1, because from Villa's point of view, why change what worked? From Manchester United's point of view, that is their shape. Ten Hag doesn't really change from that. So how can they kind of combat this? What is the solution? I'll be honest, I don't think there is an obvious one. In terms of if we look at the pressing system, it doesn't actually look like United have done a ton wrong here. It's actually just very good from Aston Villa. It's a clever ability to drag players out of position, particularly the fullbacks. So I think United's best bet in this game, and I don't say this very often, is to not go on the high press. I think if you sit off a little bit and let Aston Villa have the ball, I think they're going to find it much more difficult to break you down. I don't think this Aston Villa squad is blessed with players that can really break down the defence. So if I was United, I would defend in more of a 4-5-1 rather than a 4-2-3-1. I would drop Bruno Fernandes a bit deeper in defensive situations. Get the wingers behind the ball and get them working hard. Again, that's that intensity we're talking about. And get Ronaldo goal side of the ball. He doesn't need to be pressing. Now, am I talking about parking the bus? No. But I do think a mid-block is probably the better way for United to do it. Because like I said, I just don't think Aston Villa really have the skill set to break a team down in that way. So rather than pressing and getting caught out, getting picked off by the extra man in the midfield, I just think this would be a better solution for United. I think it also gives them attacking opportunities as well. We're speaking about at the weekend how United struggled to break Aston Villa down when they were set in their low block. If you kind of invite Aston Villa onto you a little bit by not pressing them, letting them progress the ball up towards the middle third of the pitch, then you have opportunities. Especially with the energy of someone like Fred and Bruno Fernandes, United will be more intense in midfield with this duo. And of course, the defensive ability of Casemiro. I think this then gives United the ability to win the ball and counter-attack. Especially with Marcus Rashford on the left wing, but also the pace of Elanga on the right wing. That's what I would be doing. And yeah, that's sort of how I would be approaching the game. A slightly longer video than normal, because there's a few things I want to talk about. I think this is a really good test for Erik ten Hag. Like I said, I think no matter what the result, we shouldn't be too harsh on the judgment, because the United squad does have issues at the moment. If you took Martial, Sancho and Antony out of any squad, they would struggle. So I don't think we should be too harsh. But it is interesting to see how Ten Hag tactically got exploited a little bit at the weekend, and also his players weren't intense enough. It's going to be interesting to see if just 4 days later he can get that intensity from his players, but also get the tactics right against the same opposition. So actually, from a tactical point of view, I'm really looking forward to watching this game. This is how I would approach it. Those slight tweaks. Erik ten Hag can stick with his 4-2-3-1. It's not a case of completely ripping up the script and starting again. United can stick with their usual system, just a few tweaks here and there, in and out of possession, when you're pressing, when you're sitting off, who's where when you're trying to build the ball, just subtle tweaks. But yeah, that's my thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. What tactical tweaks would you like to see from Ten Hag? What personnel changes would you like to see? Who do you think should play on the right wing? Do you think Martial will start, or do you think he will continue to be nursed back from injury? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. And also, tomorrow, come back to the channel because I will be covering the game. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you have enjoyed the video, and as always, I will see you in the next one.